Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I'm Velmore. Today I am bringing you a recipe from the Final Fantasy XIV cookbook. And this dish is incredibly popular, at least here in the United States, and has evolved to be a vessel for any myriad of toppings. Although for today's preparation, I'm just going to be going with the classic recipe of cheese, marinara, and basil. And it doesn't even come with a flashy name or anything. This is pizza. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with my dough, which means I'm going to need flour, yeast, sugar, salt, ginger, and onion powder. And I'm just going to mix that all together very quickly. Now I am going to add in a mixture of water and olive oil, and I'm going to mix that together on low until it forms a ball and has pulled away from the bowl. And then I'm going to increase the speed to medium to knead that together for about 5 minutes. And now that that's kneaded together, I'm just going to work it a little bit more and form it into a ball. And then I'm going to put it into my greased up bowl. And then I'm going to cover it. And then I'm going to put it into the fridge for 24 hours. So I'll see you tomorrow. So I've now taken my dough out of the fridge. I'm going to let it rest for 30 minutes before I move on to the next steps. In the meantime, I'm going to mince some garlic for my sauce. So I'm going to start my sauce with olive oil, butter, and I'm just going to let that butter melt. Now into that I'm going to add my garlic, and I'm going to brown that up for about 2 minutes. And now that that has gotten brown, I'm going to add in my tomatoes. Now I'm going to add some dried oregano, red pepper flakes, onion powder, and sugar. And I'm going to mix everything together. I'm also going to crush the tomatoes a bit. And I am going to let that simmer for about 45 minutes, occasionally returning to crush the tomatoes some more. So now that this has cooked up and all the tomatoes have been mashed, I'm going to add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And just give that a stir. So now I'll pull my dough onto my floured surface, and I'm going to divide it. I'm going to roll each one up into a ball. I'm going to cover it again, and I'm going to let it sit for about 30 minutes. And now I am going to push out my dough. And I'm going to put it in a cast iron skillet that has been oiled and seasoned with onion powder and garlic powder. And now that I have that spread out in the pan, I'm going to put in a spoonful of my sauce. And I'm going to mix it around. Now I'm going to add my mozzarella. And then I'm going to let that cook on the stove for a couple minutes so that the bottom of the pizza starts to brown. So this is going to go into the oven for about 10 minutes until the cheese melts and the crust becomes golden. And now I am going to top this with some Parmesan and put that back in the oven for another 2 minutes. I did enjoy this pizza. Like I said, it was a basic recipe, but that doesn't mean it was a bad recipe. The sauce was slightly sweet with a strong garlic flavor, and overall was the star of this dish. I definitely think this is one I'm gonna have to remember for future pizza recipes. The only piece of advice I really have is to be careful while seasoning the pan. I think I overdid it in some places with the garlic powder and the onion powder, because in these areas it got a little burnt and had that bitter, acrid flavor. But aside from that, the crust itself was tasty, so I would say this was a delicious recipe. I hope you enjoyed. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at chef_Valmore. The links will be in the description below. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and come on back next week for another recipe.